In this video, we're going to be looking at Battlelore 2nd edition. This game uses the command and colour system that you're familiar with, I suspect, from Memoir 44, which was published by Days of Wonder, and the command and colours kind of Ancients, which is GMT. This one's Fantasy Flight and has been designed and developed by Robert Kuber, in addition to Richard Borg, who did the original Command and Colours games. And Robert Kuber has done other Fantasy Flight games you'll be familiar with, Merchant of Venus, 2nd edition. This time we're looking at a fantasy theme set in the Runebound universe. In this game I want to give you a quick demonstration of gameplay and really give you an insight into why this is different to games like Memoir 44, Command and Colours. A lot of the concepts will be familiar with you if you're familiar with those games. We've got a huge hex board which you can fill with terrain tiles. So we've got rivers, we've got encampments, hills, buildings, okay, woodlands. And we've got a whole bunch of miniatures this time, and that's something that I think people, particularly who are keen on the fantasy theme, will love to see all these miniatures in the game. These are a bunch of basic units. There's more under the insert. And there's some huge figures here, lots of different kinds. What I'm going to do for you now, I think, is I've set out the board, and we'll set up a scenario and we'll play through a few turns to show you how this game plays. It's a two-player game. One of the players will be the Uthak, the red army, and one will be the Dakan, the blue army. These army cards, they kind of give you 3 for each player, pre-built armies that you can use, because there's a mustering mechanic where you can actually build or muster your army in a bespoke kind of way. If you don't want to go through that process, you can take one of these, whether you're the Dakan or the Uthak, and have this pre-built army. We'll come back to that in a moment. Players will use a common command deck, so all commands that are available are the same for each player, just like those other games really. If you're not familiar, I did a whole series on Memoir 44, and that gets you used to the mechanisms involved of having these 3 sectors and command cards to command your armies. Right, so we'll give those a bit of a shuffle. Place the deck to one side. There's unit cards for each player as well. So for red and blue. So these are the things that they'll keep as kind of references to their unit stats. Each player also has a deck of lore cards. This is the Dakan. They've got the same backs, so you have to look at the symbol on the front. These are going to be lores that have become available to us during the game as we collect lore. We collect lore through die rolls. I'll show you that in a moment. These are the red ones. So we give these a shuffle. Another interesting mechanism are these scenario cards. But each one of these cards is going to give the player a setup, a configuration for this scenario for their side of the board. Okay? What the idea here is that you'll have a complete random setup. Now the rules tell us we draw 3 and then the players can pick one. But it may be that you develop a favourite or ones that you never pick. So you could do it how you want really. I tend to just like just drawing one and going with it. Same for red. Okay, so you never know. There's, how many are there here? There's 7 scenario cards each. So there's quite a lot of variability here. 49 different setups. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw one for each player. The rest go back in the box. Let's walk through setting up the blue side, the Dakan, and then we'll have Uthak facing opposite. There's a few things going on these scenario cards. This bit's pretty obvious. This shows us the terrain and these banner markers, these victory point markers, which are going to go on to the board. This part here is the initiative number. This will determine who will get to be the first player. So these are alphanumeric order. And then we've got some scenario text down here. This one says, friendly units do not need to end their movement when moving into a hex containing a forward token. Okay, so these guys can avoid a movement restriction that comes in the standard rules. And then we've got this victory point step here. It says gain 1 victory point. Our objectives in this game is going to be to win the most victory points. A player wins when they reach 16 or more points, and you check that at the beginning of their turn, or alternatively if they eliminate all their opponent's units. This one says gain 1 victory point for each friendly rune golem unit that occupies a hex containing a forward token. Okay, so it's going to give you a reason or an objective, a way to win victory points. These are our banner markers, and these are our forward tokens. Forward tiles, they go on these river spaces. These red ones and these blue ones, so blue for the Dakan, red for the Uthuk, they show you the tiles in which you can deploy your troops. Alright, so that's not terrain. They're not red volcanoes or blue seas or anything. They're deployment spaces. It's these in these white borders that are the terrain tiles. So let's go set those up first. So that's our side of the board set up. We're going to have the red player do the same. What's interesting about this setup, of course, is that, you know, different scenarios are going to be taking shape depending on which cards are opposite each other. The red player here, staking a claim, they get free movement through forests. They don't end their movement entering a forest as normal. But they get 1 victory point if they occupy at least one clear, like this, 1 forest and 1 hill. So they've got to go for these hills. There's plenty of forest around for them to go to. These rivers aren't joined up, but there is an opportunity for potentially rivers to join up. So you can kind of play around with the rivers and make them look more realistic, join them up and so on. Once you're happy, the next step is like I say, to place these forward tiles. Each player gets 1 each. B1 is lower in the alphabet than C1, so blue will get to go first, and they can place a forward on any of the river tiles shown on their scenario tile. Okay, so let's go for... Obviously what you're doing by creating a forward is creating a point in which the river can be crossed. These edge hexes here are not accessible, right? You can only enter these full hexes, these half hexes, they don't count. And then the red player, they might choose to put that in something like this so they can get across to these forests, perhaps. And the blue Dakan player gets first player token, and now we can muster our armies. I think for the red player I'll just take one of these pre-built armies. Let's go for the Reign of Venom, so I'll set that one up in a moment. For blue, well, we won't use their 3 fixed armies. I'll show you how to use the muster cards instead. So these are they. There's a whole bunch for the blue player, a whole bunch for the red player, and this lot are called decoys. These are ways that you can kind of disguise the deployment of your armies. We'll need those. Meanwhile, I'll use the deployment cards for red according to their army card number 2 here, Reign of Venom. You'll notice in the bottom of this army card it has a value 50. These are muster points. Okay, now we've got to have exactly 18 cards in our army. The red army has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So they're going to add 7 decoy cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to make their army up to 18. Okay? Now we've got 50 points, and we can spend those 50 points on these cards. See the cost in the bottom left here? The command 10 here gives you -5, so that's pretty cool. That means I could then spend 55 on the rest. So let's get this Rock Warrior guy down, and that's 14. We'll have a couple of riders. 26. Some archers. 30, 34. Let's get some guardsmen down as well. Let's get another archer in, shall we? Yeah, okay. Now that should be 18 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've only got 12 cards, so that means I get to add 6 decoys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that gives me a stack of 18 cards. That's left us with 1 muster point unspent. For any unspent muster points up to a maximum of 5, we take 1 lore token. So we'll add this to our play area. Oh, they need 2 more decoys. Okay, for the 2 lore. And once we've got our stack of 18, and this is where the decoys will start to make sense, what we're going to do is we're going to place these face down on the board. Okay, so we could be placing these decoys places, making our opponent feel that we're putting proper units down when we're not. We're putting decoys. Okay, when you reveal this, it just goes back to the box. It doesn't do anything. Alright, so we've got to place and deploy our units face down, and both players will do this simultaneously. I cannot deploy any units in a row farther from a faction edge. This is my faction edge down here. So if I put my command tent here, I can't put any of my units further up. And I can only deploy on the tiles that were blue on my map, remember? Okay, so I can't be putting units up here on the forge straight away. Alright. So I've got to look at the board, think about my objectives. I've got to try and go for this ford and this ford, possibly this point here and this point here. So this is going to be a highly contentious fought after area over on the left here, as is the centre. Alright, so both players, let's get our things on the board. My command tent's actually quite well guarded. I might put it here. Once you're done, so when we're nearly there, both players will then simultaneously reveal. Okay. Any decoys, they're just going to get discarded and go back to the box. After revealing your cards, replace those with figures. So here I've got the rune golems. I'll take this away. It needs 3 figures, because the number 3 down here in the bottom right. So we'll put 3 figures there. Archers, they're 3 as well. So we'll replace these with 3 archer figures. We'll do the same for all our other units. And the command tent has a nice terrain tile that we can use to replace it on the board. Okay. Keep this to one side if you wish. Reminds you what it does, but these smaller ones, they're kind of not needed now for the rest of the game, because you've got these larger cards that tell you what each unit does. Alright? Okay. Let's clear this away, and then I'll come back with everything set up and all the figures on the board, ready to start the first turn. Here we are then, all done. These big guys over here are going to make quite an awe-inspiring sight when we try and confront this ford. There's one unit which isn't represented on the board, and that's this infantry unit, these blood harvesters. I'll take that card and that unit away. This is the kind of game where I know people will be crying out for expansions. Give me more figures, give me more figures. Because that's just the kind of game it is, you know, with this fantasy theme. There's so much scope for different types of monsters with different abilities. And notice all these units have 3 figures, so maybe a 2-figure unit or a 4-figure unit might be good. We each draw our starting hands, and we do this by grabbing 6 command cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we also get some lore cards. 3 lore cards on top of our deck. Okay? And we'll get to keep 2 lore cards, and we'll discard 1. We don't discard it, we place it back on the bottom of the lore deck, alright, so it could come up again later. And then we do the same with our command cards, but we'll keep 4 and discard 2. So we've got a hand of 6 cards in total. These go back on the bottom of the command deck. The other player, the red player, will be doing the same. They'll be drawing 6, discarding 2, keeping 4. Drawing 3 laws, discarding 1, keeping 2. Okay? So then, let's walk through a couple of turns. Incidentally, there's two rule books. There's the main rule book, which will give you everything you need to know to play. There's kind of a starting scenario, a beginner scenario, which just gets you used to the basic mechanics with some simpler, just your infantry and archer units. But there's also a reference book. So once you've got the rules down, put this away, and then this will just give you a reference to sort of glossary of terms, and also a quick reference on the back here that gives you the game phases, what die results mean, what different terrains mean. Okay, so this is really handy to have to one side. We're going to start with the command step, and this is when we get to play 1 command card. I'm going to start with something simple. Let's use attack right. So I'm looking at the right flank here. These stay in my hand. I'll play this card and reveal it. It says order 3 units in the right section. That's these. These spots here are in both the right and the middle section. Okay, so be aware that some units can be ordered with multiple cards if they're on these middle sections. So I've got to pick 3 units now and order them. This is where I reach for my trusty gemstones and pick the 3 units I wish to order. They're going to be this one. Now I want to move my archers up, I think. So I'm going to order these 3 units. Once I've picked the units I want to order, the next step is I can move these units. So let's... this is going to get discarded once I've played it. So I've got my golems and my yeoman archers. So let's look at the golems first. They have a movement value of 2. My archers, a movement value of 2. They can move up to 2 hexes. There's other things on here like these text abilities and these other stats, but at the moment all we're interested in is their movement of 2. Different terrain is going to limit my movement. If I move these archers into this forest, although they've got a movement of 2, they can't move beyond it and take that second movement. When they move into a forest, they must stop. Our golems here, I'm going to move up to the ford. Now remember, our scenario, damming the Muir River. It says, friendly units do not need to end their movement when entering into a hex containing a ford token. Normally you do. So if I had more movement now, I could move on, irrespective of the fact that I've moved into a ford. And we're going to move our second set of archers up 2 spaces. Now we've moved, the next thing we can do is attack. The rune golems roll 3 dice. That's what this number here means, 3 dice to attack. But unfortunately, they need to be adjacent to an enemy unit to attack them. They don't have a ranged attack. The yeoman archers, on the other hand, do. The range of the yeoman archers' attack is 1 to 4 hexes, and they roll 2 dice. They've also got this double shot ability. If the unit did not move during a move step, it may perform 1 additional attack during your attack step. So it could be attacking twice now if it didn't move. It did move, so it's going to do 1 attack. This guy's going to camp out in this forest kind of in a defensive position, so he will get double attacks if anything wanders into range. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can count the hexes. There's nothing in full range of these woods, but they try and get beyond this row. 2, 3. Yeah, they come into this row here, and they're going to be in range. Things will block line of sight. Forests, the command tent, hills, these buildings here. They're all blocking terrain. Remember, the reference guide tells you. Command tent, building, forest, hills are blocking terrain. Water is impassable. Now for line of sight, you draw a line between the centre of the hex you're shooting from to the hex you're shooting to. So at the moment, these archers can shoot at those guys. Other units also block line of sight. So this archer unit here couldn't be shooting off in this direction, but he can shoot these. There's no one blocking line of sight on any of these. For this, we're going to need some dice. Remember, the yeoman archer's attack value is 2 here, so they're going to roll 2 dice. We're looking for this symbol here. Okay, these are hits, these are ranged hits, these are melee hits. There is a modifier when you're in a forest. You can roll a maximum of 2, and anyone attacking you gets a maximum of 2. Oh, hills. If you're on a hill, then you can ignore line of sight. So hills are a good vantage point for archers. Okay, let's roll our dice. We got 2 retreats. So that means we get to push the Chaos Lord backwards. Let's have a look at the Chaos Lord's card though. It says that he is immovable. He may ignore 1 retreat each combat. He's got a Terrify ability if he rolls this crown, and he's massive. He cannot move into or occupy building hexes. Okay, so we've got 2 retreats. He's going to ignore 1 of them. That just leaves 1 retreat. And he retreats in the opposite direction that he's being attacked from. So he's going to retreat into this forest. Okay. Incidentally, if this unit was here, this archer unit, they would be supporting the Chaos Lord. Okay, and he wouldn't be forced to retreat because there's a unit behind him. He doesn't take any damage. It's not like in Memoir when you take damage if you can't retreat. Okay. This is called a supporting unit. So do put your units in such a way that they can support one another. That's our main phase complete, and we will now discard the orders card. So create yourself a discard pile over here. Now you move into the upkeep phase. First thing you do in upkeep is look for any hexes that have victory point banners, and you'll gain victory points for any of those that you occupy. We don't currently, but our golems do occupy this ford. Remember, our scenario says during the victory point step, gain 1 victory point for each friendly rune golem that occupies a hex containing a ford token. So with our rune golems on this ford, we gain 1 victory point, and we're on our way to earning the 16 we need to win the game. The important point here is that we're going to get that victory point every single turn that we're standing here. You know, remember in Memoir, you have the victory point or you don't have the victory point. In this game, in Battlelore, we're earning those victory points every turn. So for as long as we stand here, so taking this forward early was an advantage. For as long as we stand here, we're going to be gaining a victory point every turn. Next, we draw a command card. Because we played 1, take our hand back up to 6 cards. We got Patrol Centre, nice one. And now we move into the lore step. We can either gain 2 lore tokens, we've got 1 already. We can gain 1 lore token and draw a card, or we can draw 2 lore cards, discard 1, keep the other. Alright, so we've got 1 lore. We've got 1 card that costs 2, 1 card that costs 4. I think we'll take 2 lore tokens, taking our tally to 3. That's our turn ended, so now it's the time of the red player So let's assume from their hand they choose to pay the surround order card. This allows them to order 2 units on the left section and 2 units on the right section. Remember, it's from their perspective, so that's their left, that's their right. Let's have them order this one and this one being on this centre section is in both the right flank and the centre section. And over here, saying this one and those archers who are in both the middle and the left. Obscenes only have a movement of 1, so they're going to take to this hill. It would have been nice to have their archers up on that hill. They're going to have a movement of 2. But we have a way around this because Obscene have this special called Craving. It says during your move step, this unit may move 1 additional hex as long as it ends this additional movement adjacent to an enemy unit. So what we're going to do is move that additional hex here, adjacent to these golems, and then my archers can move up onto this hill, or his archers rather. The Flesh Ripper brutes, they're fast moving, they have a movement of 3 hexes. I want to move them around here to take these victory points. So let's move this guy 1, 2, 3 into this building. And then 1, 2, 3 into this building. They're going to be staking out these victory points. Without any adjacent enemies, because they're melee units, they don't attack. The Obscene can though, because they're adjacent to my golems, and they attack with 4 dice. So let's roll. Okay. They've done 2 hits. 1, 2. This one is called the Heroic, and if they have a heroic ability here, that would now trigger, but they don't. They also gain 1 law token for rolling this one. So they've done 2 hits, and they get 1 law. And their law token, they've got 3 now. And our rune golems, with only 3 units, are going to take 2 damage. And that's a pretty hearty attack because I removed 2 figures from the unit. My rune golems have been left. That's just 1. There is a little comeback for me though. Although I'm down to 1 unit, if I'm attacked by an adjacent unit and I survive, I can now counter-attack. The rune golems have a melee attack of 3, so I'm going to roll 3 dice. Okay, we got 2 heroes and a single melee. This unit here is considered weak because it only consists of 1 figure. A weak unit cannot do any damage with a single sword on its melee attack. It needs this double sword. Alright, so a double sword always hits. A single sword hits unless the attacking unit is weak. The heroes, this heroic die roll, that will trigger my special. The golem inflicts a stunning blow. Only 1 of these heroic rolls counts, even if you roll multiple. Stun the target unit. Stunned units can't move, attack, counter or retreat. And they're going to have to spend 2 law to remove that stunned effect. So we'll take this stunned marker, place that on the Obscenes. And their archers now are going to go and try and finish the job with a range of 1 to 4 and rolling 2 dice. So we're going to grab the poison marker and place this on this unit to show that he's poisoned, and now they have to retreat. However, the rune golems are immovable like the Chaos Lord. This unit may ignore 1 retreat each combat. was a close thing. And that's important because that means I can still claim that victory point. Now we're in the upkeep phase. We've completed our order. We're going to get 2 victory points for each of these banners that we occupy. So that's 2 victory points for the red player. They draw a new command card, attack left. And for his lore step, I'm going to gain 1 and draw a card. He gets Lord of Chaos. It says after your opponent's command step, a friendly Chaos Lord may move up to 1 hex and perform an attack. So that's a pretty neat card. I need 6 lore to play that, or he does, but doesn't have it. So these lore cards, they do tell you when they can be played. This one is after a unit is eliminated, and in circle says play after you perform a combat roll who's adjacent to 2 or more friendly units. Okay. Now it's back to my turn. And I quite like the idea of using this lore card, Take to the Skies. I don't have enough lore yet, I've only got 3. But it says play during my move step after a friendly rock warrior unit moves, one of these guys. Choose a unit in a hex that the rock warrior unit moved through. This rock warrior has flying, so he can actually move over other units. Pretty cool. And remove the chosen unit from the game board and place it in an unoccupied hex that it can occupy up to 2 hexes from the rock warrior unit. Okay, so this kind of like this guy's picking them up and lifting them to another part of the board. That's Battlelore 2nd edition. I hope you've enjoyed this little demonstration of how the game plays. It's wonderful, it's brilliant. I love it. It's my favourite Command and Colours game, just because of all the different card combinations and the use of lore and the different units and lots of stuff going on. I really enjoy this scenario setup and the deployment rules. You know, there's so much in this game that sets it sets it apart from the other Command and Colours games and makes it something very different. You'll also find that a lot of the time you've got a lot of these cards, you know, not just these section commands, but you can do a lot more with your lore and these special orders. This has been Box of Delights presenting Battlelore 2nd edition. I got my copy in the UK from Estuvium, so look out at retailers, that's who's doing distribution over here. It's published by Fantasy Flight. If you want to try out a Command and Colours type system game, you can't do better than starting here.